Fine. So what we'll do today, let's discuss. I will create in this S3 bucket. I'll create this S3 bucket and we'll discuss all the options. I will show you first. I will walk you through all the options, what are there at bucket level, and later we will upload an object and we'll see what are all the options at object level. So first let's discuss all the theory, that means what are the different options at bucket level and at object level. And we'll, if we have time, we'll do some practicals. Whatever we have discussed today on those things, we'll do some practicals if we have time. Later, moving in coming class. Actually, in S3, would discuss after S3, we'll discussing IAM. There, we will discuss about CLI, command line interface, and those things. So, coming to the options of this S3, you see some options we have to discuss both theoretical as well as practical. But some options we will discuss only theoretical, and some not at all important. Why? Because we never use them, these options. And this one only theory. Why? Because there is nothing to do practical in it. It's just like on or off. That's it. But we'll be discussing theory in it, because what will happen if you on, we'll discuss that. So let me create a bucket and let me walk you through all the options at this bucket level. Let's create a bucket. You can keep anywhere. You want to launch in Mumbai, Singapore. Let's launch in Mumbai. So the keep it private. We know how to make it public even after launching. Just create. Once after creating, I will show you all the options. Okay. The bucket has been created. So how can you specify? I forgot to show you. While naming the bucket, there are some rules and regulations for bucket. You see here. See rules for bucket naming while creating bucket. So you can't give like whatever you want. There are some rules and regulations while naming the bucket. Like rules in a sense, not technical, like small letters, capital letters, those things related to the time sync. Yeah. So here you see bucket name. So bucket name must be between somewhere 3 and 6 characters. 3 and 63 characters. What is it? One moment. So the bucket name must be somewhere around like between 3 and 63. Okay. Yeah. So the bucket name must be between like 3 and 63 characters. It contain only lowercase numbers, dot and hyphen. That means you should not use capital letters anyway while naming the bucket. And then bucket name must begin and end with a letter or number. Since they said letter, number, dot or hyphen, you should not start or end the name of the bucket with dot or hyphen. In between they can be, but not in starting and ending. Bucket names must not be formatted as an IP address. Since they have given you option to keep the number, you should and dots, you should not keep the name of the bucket like IP addresses like this. This one we already discussed. Names must be unique. Buckets used for history transfer acceleration can't have dots in their names. We already discussed yesterday transfer acceleration. So if anyone asks you about transfer acceleration, what is the keyword I said you should explain?
Edge point.
Right, edge locations or edge points. So these are the rules. So since we have created, I'm just cancelling this one. I just wanted to show you that. That's why I came here. We have already created bucket. So I say this is the name of the bucket. So it's unique that we got created, and we have created in Mumbai region. Bucket and objects are not public because we have by default everything is private. Even yesterday also showed you. We if you want we can make it manually public. This is the time and day stamp. So now let's go into the bucket and see what are all different options at bucket level. So you see there are in S3 there are so many options. Yes, as I said there are so many options. But in real time we don't be using all those options because no one will use all those that many options for that. How many are required as per the project requirement? Only those things will be there, and those things will be discussing, which we will be coming across the real time when you are working. So these are the objects. So in your bucket, how many objects are there? You can see here. Currently there is nothing, so it's showing 0. Since it is 0 here, this option got freezed here. You see, once if you upload any object, automatically this option gets activated. That means you can use it. Without any object, what you will delete here, so not that's why it got freezed. Similarly, in this action, there are so many options related to objects only. If you want, we can check. These options also will be freezed since there is no object as of now. See? So many options: open, calculate, file size, copy, move. There are so many. These are all object level. That means options related to object. But these are at bucket level options. Why? Because once you open, you see the bucket here, you can these all options belong to this bucket. So technically speaking, the first option is nothing here. It's just like an overview, how many images are there, if you want to delete an image, if you want to copy or move an image, create folder, upload, that's it. Nothing much of technical here. Let's go to properties. So this is just a bucket overview, that means a basic details, which region, who is that, please be on that. Shagil Ahmad and time and date. So now you see one by one these are the options. Bucket versioning. Yeah, this is a very basic thing, as remember well. All the options, whatever we are going to discuss, by default, whenever you create bucket, all the options of the bucket will be in a disabled state. If we want, we have to manually enable them. You can enable them while creating the bucket, or you can enable them after creating the bucket. Same like yesterday, how we made public and private. Even while creating also you can make it, after creating also you can change it. So no issues with that. But the default thing I'm saying is all the options also will be, all the options will be in a disabled state. Like how when you create a bucket it is private by default. Similarly, when you upload an object by default it is private. Similarly, all the options at bucket level or at object level will be in a disabled state by default. If we want, we have to manually change them. Okay. So what did we discuss about versioning? Anyone remember what will happen if you enable versioning?
Like recycling.
Okay, one is it acts as a recycling, so you can recover any object if you delete. That is one thing. Another one,
Keep track of history.
keep track of the version. So we have many versions, V1, V2. So in first, maybe in the first files I am having only one line. In the second file I have developed 3 lines. In the V3 I have 10 lines. So if anyone asks you what have you done, what is the progress of your work, so you can say easily, see, in the first version I have written this line. In the second version, other than this one, I have written another 3 like that. So that you will keep a track of it. So if you want to enable, simple again, edit and enable this one and save changes. That's it. Nothing more than that. So first I will walk you through all the options so that you will get familiar with it. Title actually I can show you practicals, but you will get confused immediately because the first time that your mind is registering these words, right? That's why just I will walk you through it, and then we will be whatever these options I'm explaining, we will do practicals on them, all these things. Next, tag means, anywhere you heard this name word tag?
It's like a name.
Right. We have discussed in EC2. Step 5 belongs to tag. So if you want to give anything name, you want to tag anything, you can add here anything by editing. Currently there is nothing, no tags associated. And then encryption. So this also we have discussed. Encryption means something like locking. And how many types of encryption are there we discussed?
Two types.
Two types. One is discrete, standard. Another is KMS means key management service. So you see this also by default it is in disabled state. If you want to enable it, edit it, this option is. So currently it is in disabled state. Enable this one. And here you are assuring of your video. Encryption type. And this is key management service. This one is a standard. I'm not enabling as of now anything. Default encryption. And then intelligent tiering. So this will belong to something tier. So we have discussed 6 types of tiers are there. One zone, standard, one zone, IA, infrequent access, one zone, infrequent access, like that. Last one is archive and deep archive. Last two. So what then if you get any doubt at any option, if you get any doubt, the answer is there only there. You can study below. So what they are saying is enable objects stored in the intelligent tiering storage class to tear down to the archive access tier or the deep archive access tier, which are optimized for objects that will be rarely accessed for long periods of time. So we know already what is the use case of last to archive tier and deep archive means. So what is the difference between first and the last first type of tier storage and last? Availability, durability and cost. So what they are saying, if you want, you can configure, you can create a configuration such a way. First, whatever you want, you can keep in archive state, and you can define here after how many days. After how many days you want to move it to deep archive. So that what will happen? We already discussed. As per the requirement, as per the importance of the data, we will decide the type of storage class. If you that also you will get to know about that how important the data is once you talk to the manager. What it is in real time, your manager will be having the product knowledge, which logs are important, which logs are not that much important. So once you talk to him, you will get an idea. Okay, and you can explain to him like this is availability, time durability will be less or availability will be less, but the cost also will be less. So since you're saying these logs are not important, can we place in archive and deep archive like that? So once you discuss with him, you can set up these things. So I will show you configuration later once we do practicals. And then server access logging. Yeah, so this is one more. First of all, what is logging? Yeah, it depends to logs. Logging is nothing but logs. So next comes the question: why do we use logs? Guys? Why do we use logs in IT?
To store for future reference.
Logs are for proof. What is happening, why it is happening, when it is happening. If something is working fine, okay, how it is working fine. If something is not working fine, it is why it is not working fine. All this information, how can you get to know? With the help of logs. Logs are very important in IT. That's why logging system. So what they are saying, server access logging. So that means this is our S3 bucket. So definitely this URL you will share with your so many customers. What these customers will be, they will be accessing from many locations, some from India, some from US, some from Canada. They have each different IP addresses, all these things. So server means here who server? Server belongs to customer. That means server is nothing but from a mission. The laptop or desktop from where the customers are accessing your URL, they server. So now what we are logging, server access logging. Log request for access to your bucket. That means whoever is sending from where, so from India, this is one. These requests are being logged. That means okay, this traffic came from India and this is the IP of the person. I mean, this is the IP of that machine. How much amount of traffic is coming inside? How much amount of traffic is going outside? Such type of information will be completely logged. That is called server access logging. So the information about the servers from which customers are accessing the S3 bucket, that information related to that particular service is being logged inside. That means stored in the form of log files. That is called server access logging. And as usual, by default it is in disabled state. So sir, information means what? Just now I said. Server access means what is the information related to our laptop? What is the IP? If possible, sometimes from which location, where, and how much traffic is coming inside the S3 bucket, how much traffic is going outside. These are the basic information. And next comes AWS Cloud Trail data events. So you see, I said right earlier, I'm not sure whether I said to you or not. Moving further, this is one of the services as part of our syllabus. This is a service here. So what happens in this service? Whatever you do in this AWS account, the moment you log in to the moment till you log out in the company from morning to evening, whatever you have done in the AWS console, everything it will be getting noted. That means it's like a literally you can say it's like a something like CC camera. What are you doing inside the AWS account? Everything will be logged in here. That is cloud trail. So same here. So whatever you are doing in S3, everything will be dated. So configure cloud trail data events to log Amazon S3 object level API operations in cloud trail. That means whatever you are doing at S3 level, are you uploading any bucket? I mean, are you uploading any folder? Are you creating any bucket? Are you uploading any object? Are you deleting any object? Have you done any applied any lifecycle management on that existing objects? So did you change the storage type, storage state of any object? All these things will be logged in the service called Cloud Trail. So later when I will explain this Cloud Trail, automatically will understand what is this. So for now, on a basic, on a high level, the purpose of Cloud Trail service is to log all the information at Amazon S3 console level. So that can be related to any service. Just in Cloud Trail, for any service it will be happening. Okay, Revant has logged in today at 7:30 am. That also will be noted down. Revant has deleted an EC2 instance. That also will be noted. Revant created EC2, deleted S3 bucket, uploaded object. Everything it will be noted down there. So later once I show you this, then you will understand. And then event notification. So what is the service which we are going to discuss as part of our course, which is related to notification? SNS. So this also is part of our course, and we are going to discuss this moving forward. SNS means simple notification service. So here also event notification means what? Something has happened. Let's say Raven has created a bucket. So that you want to get a notification for the team. Let's say your client says, Raven, I always want some notifications when someone does something in the S3. So that means I need to create a notification here. Okay. Whenever I upload anything, whenever I delete anything, immediately the notification will be sent to client and like to the whole team to the email addresses like that. That is called email notification. So event notifications we will map it with the SNS topic, SNS. So what is this SNS? How can we send notifications to all the people in our team or outside the team? What are the modes of communication? Notification means whether it is email or SMS, any other thing, extra things. That all things we will be discussing when we discuss about this SNS. Transfer acceleration. Yeah. So we discuss a long term. So transfer acceleration means here using the endpoint for which purpose? For faster data transfers. So by default this is also in disabled state. So once you enable transfer acceleration on a bucket, what will happen guys? When any customer is trying to upload anything, where the object will first go, it will go directly into the bucket or it will go somewhere in first. It will go to nearest edge location and from there it will go to the destination bucket. So this is the flow whenever you enable this, and if you don't enable this one, the object will go straight away like this. No edge location, nothing, if it is in disabled state. As I said, when we do practicals tomorrow on this transfer acceleration, these things, I will show you the calculator, speed calculator. Okay. Next is object lock. Have you seen any such type of similar option in EC2? Try to remember. Have we discussed any such type of option in EC2? Not exactly, similar to, which do the same functionality on EC2. Anyone remember? Of course, we discussed, I know, but have you remembered or that's the point here?
Yes, yes, we discussed. Delete of termination something.
Right. That is not related actually. Delete and termination, yes, that is related to EBS. But here, object lock, that means you are safeguarding. That means you are protecting your object without getting deleted accidentally. Even though if you delete by mistake, it won't get deleted. Something protection. Right. So in EC2, in action, terminated. Right, delete on termination protection. Remember now? Yes, sir. While launching the EC2 instance, you can enable it in step 3. Or else, even after launching also, you can go to actions, instance settings will be there in that. Delete on termination protection. So what I even said you one day some practical examples in which scenarios we will use that.
Yes.
Yeah. So in real time companies, all the EC2 instances which are working in production environment, all will be enabled delete on termination protection. So that even though by mistake if someone is deleting or you yourself you are thinking somewhere and you are about to delete production machine, it won't get deleted because it is protected from delete on termination. Same is the scenario here. So let's say in S3 bucket you won't have only one object, maybe you are having hundreds and thousands of objects. By mistake you have selected two objects and you thought you have selected only one object and you are about to delete that. So you can enable delete on protection for some objects on object lock so that it won't get deleted. Even though by mistake you are trying to delete, it won't get deleted. That is object lock. So this also by default it is disable state. And so some they have given some clause here. What? Amazon S3 currently does not support enabling object lock after a bucket has been created. So that's why you see this option is in free state. Why? Because what they're saying, this option you cannot enable after the bucket has been created. So if you want to enable this option, you have to make sure, remember, while creating only you want to enable this. So to enable object lock for this bucket, contact customer support. So by mistake, let's say you forgot to enable object lock, but you have already uploaded some data and you are working on it. Now you came to know, realize that you won't enable it. So what they ask you to write to the support. So what they will do, they will try to enable from the backend. But of course, we don't use this option, and that I'm just saying since the options are there. Next, what is this requester phase? So let's say simple thing. I'll give you a practical event. There is one bucket in Singapore region. There is another bucket in Canada region. Now you see guys, these buckets, first thing, these buckets can be in same AWS account or this bucket can be in different AWS account. So here what requester page is, let's say this belongs to different accounts, okay? So this belongs to Raven, this belongs to some X person. So now this X person has asked me, like I saw in your project you're having some like almost thousands of objects and some 100 folders are there. As part of our project also we are trying to use the same content, the 1000 objects and 100 folders. So I want to copy them to my history bucket, which is located in Singapore. And even account is also different, database account also. So what I will say is, okay, you can copy them. I can copy them for you. But this is whose requirement? My requirement or whose requirement? This is some other the other guy's requirement. So, but if I transfer like this, started copying and pasting, copying to his bucket, who will pay the bill for this data transfer cost and amount of data?
Raven service.
I have to pay the bill. Raven's account, AWS account has to pay the bill. But this is his requirement. Why I need to pay for his requirement? In that scenario, I will enable option called requester page and I will give the details of the requester. What is the detail? Something like his account ID, his email ID, like this. And then once I started copying these objects, how much bill will be charged for this transfer, all these things, that bill will be added to whose account? This person account.
Yes.
This person. This AWS account will get added. So that it's very easy, nothing technical. The name itself is a requester page means whoever is requesting, whoever wants to use it, whoever is requesting from you, they will pay the bill. So currently this is also in disabled state. And next comes something called static website. Yeah, this is something very interesting option. So what they are saying, in the S3 bucket you can launch your website. Yes, they are saying you can launch your website and this website is equal to your customer. So is this possible? First of all, yes, it is possible. So first of all, where did we discuss now website means? We know how can we launch website only Only EC2. So, and how did we safeguard our website? Only EC2 or what? We have combined it with load balancer and auto scaling. So this is the whole architecture of your website. So even though if for some reason, if the traffic goes, auto scaling will make sure the load is balanced among the machines with the load balancer all this. But here, if you are launching any website in S3, is there any concept of load? The load is getting more. So many people are accessing my website in which I have launched in S3 bucket. The load is getting is there any such concept? What did you discuss yesterday is unlimited. We can have n amount of data and it can take n amount of requests. So literally technically speaking in this scenario, do we need any load balancing or auto scaling in S3 bucket? What do you think? Why we have launched here auto scaling and load balancer? To balance the load and in case if existing servers are not enough to increase the server. So technically if you observe, these both purposes are for handling the load balancer and auto scaling. But here first of all there is no concept of load and number of buckets. One bucket is enough to take any amount of load and it can enough to automatically scale itself. As the number of requests are increasing, it can scale itself. So that is the reason why there is no load balance and auto scaling here. So next comes the doubt. If that is the case here, why we are using EC2s and this ELB and auto scaling complex setup? Right away we can go with S3 bucket only. No? We can launch our website in S3 bucket only. No? Why we are using this one? This complete setup instead of this first one. What do you think, guys? You got my question right? I have explained you the difference between S3 and EC2 when it comes to the website. So if you have to launch any website in EC2, definitely it has to be along with the combination of load balancer and auto scaling. Then only you can be confident that your website will be never down. But whereas the same website if you launch in S3, you don't need to have any load balance and auto scaling. Why? Because you know the characteristic of S3. It is having unlimited amount of, it can take amount of load, unlimited amount of load, unlimited amount of data it can store. Then why we are going with EC2 still, but why not with S3 for launching a website is my question. So if you study the name of that option, you will understand. The answer is there.
Static.
I said website, but did I say which type of website is it? So what type of website S3 supports only? Static. So next comes the question. So how many types of websites are there? Static and
Static and dynamic.
dynamic. So what next comes the question. What is the difference between static and dynamic? Give any real-time example. Instead of saying the definition, give example so that everyone can understand without saying the definition only. I mean name of the website practically, which is static and which is dynamic. So static and dynamic, these are normal English words. Static means which is constant always, which never changes. Dynamic means which changes frequently. So now you think and say me any website which which are static and which are dynamic.
Static are government websites.
Okay. Not exactly government. Sometimes maybe like prices are increasing in the population. These things also will be changing now and then often. So instead of government website, I can say something like you see Wikipedia. What do you say? So what is this website? This is for information related website, right? Let's say you were searching about World War One, World War One or World War Two in the Wikipedia. Will this content change anytime?
No, it will not change.
It's a constant one. 10 years back, coming 100 years ago, the content will be same. It's a static one. Such a static website. So what are dynamic? Facebook, Flipkart, Amazon. Are the prices and products same every time? They will be keep on changing, right? Not only them, regular also. Let's say your company website is there. In your company website, there is career page. So in the career page, will the job openings will be there always like that? Last year job openings also will it show today in this year. They will keep on removing and updating, right? So it is also dynamic. So S3 static website means it supports only static type of thing, not dynamic thing. That's why we go with EC2, load balancer, or auto string these settings. Why? Because this supports the dynamic. So that means when the website is running only, without bringing down the website, you can update the things dynamically. When you launch your website in EC2. But whereas in S3 bucket, if you have to update any web content of yours, first you need to bring down your website, then you have to update something, again you have to bring up the website. Okay. Of course, this also we are going to do practical, then you will understand. Yeah. So written exclusive HTML is problem. So let's see another option. So these are all options that see only at properties level we are having this many options, still so many are there. Next is permission. So you know this. If you want to currently it is not public, that's what it should not public. You know how to make it public. Simply edit. You want to make it public, remove this one and then say save change. And you say cancel. So this is how you make it private. So see now it is saying object can be public. Before it is saying no, but it is now it can. Next. Bucket policy. So we discussed bucket policy ACL. So you see guys, so these things we will not be discussing practical. I said right, some options we won't be discussing practical. Why? Because here you see here we have to write something related to scripting language. You need to have a knowledge of scripting language, then only you can use this option. So what is the name of the scripting language? JSON. What is JSON? JSON means JavaScript object notation. So in real time, we won't be using it because being a core means we don't have any scripting language. So we'll let it be. Ultimately, what is the purpose of this bucket policy? To give the permissions, right? We already discussed. Who can access this? Who cannot access this one? And what did I say? What is the service? Another. We have one more service exclusively for dealing with the permissions of the accounts, objects, everything user. IAM. After this S3, we are going to discuss IAM. So in IAM, everything we have GUI option. You don't need to use any scripting language. Okay. This person can use in that particular bucket only that particular object. That you can define in IAM also. The same permission you can define here with the help of bucket policy also. But if you have to use bucket policy, you need to have a scripting language. Since we don't know this, no, having scripting language knowledge, we don't use this option. But still we can do this. How? With the help of IAM service. Okay. So of course, while doing practicals, I will show you how to do it. I will show you. I will take one sample script of this one. I will show how it looks, what it happens, everything. It is a very easy one only. It is a script means don't think something different. It also everything is in a normal plain English only. But some indentations, that commas, some flower brackets, these will be there. By seeing that, you will get a bit confused. Other than that, it is also plain English, and you can understand just by reading a script. You yourself can understand what this will do. That much easy it is. When doing practicals, I will only show you, then you can feel it. And then object ownership. So if you want to like change on, so the object writer remains the object of the owner. That means whoever first uploads the object, definitely that person is the owner forever. But other than that, if you want to give any new ownership for any person, so you can edit and give them. That means from any another account. So you want some other person to access one object from your AWS account from his AWS account. So what you have to do, first of all, you need to give the ownership permissions to that particular X person from his account. So in that scenario, we need to enter that account ID of that person, the email ID of that person, and then only he or she can access from their AWS account the object in our AWS account. Okay. Next, ACL. So this also related to we already discussed bucket policies and permission. At small, at minute level, granular level permission. I have a bucket. Okay, bucket is public. I can define. Again, inside the bucket, I have 1000 objects, but in that I want only 10 should be public, remaining 990 should be private. These granular level permissions you can achieve with the help of ACL. Hmm? Public access. Only for some people you want to give permission, only that some people you want to get delivery, log delivery group. Only for some people of group you want to get the logs delivered like that. Everything you can edit here, you see, at object level and bucket ACL level. So what did you say? ACL means you can control both bucket level option at the level and objects also. Objects level permission. And next option is CORS, cross origin resource sharing. So by studying the name itself, you can understand a bit. Cross origin resource sharing. That means some resources are being shared across the different region. Yes or no? So study the word carefully, you will understand. Cross origin resource sharing. That means the resources are being shared across the different regions. So where and when we use this? So let me see this. So now you observe this. What did I say? Let's say I have hosted a static website hosting. That means some information oriented website, not something dynamic. So what I do, you know how to host a website, static website hosting. So my one bucket is in Singapore region, another one is in Canada region. So 70% of my web content is in Singapore region, 30% of my web content is in Canada region. So whenever people hit my something Revanda.com website, the request will come to my S3 bucket. This one, let's say I have given this URL to the customer. But how much website they can see only? How much web content they can see when they hit something Raven.com? They can see only 70% because you are thinking the website the traffic is hitting only the S3 bucket in Singapore, and the Singapore bucket contains only 70% web content. But what is happening is in the backend we will define such a way whenever people hit that something like Raven.com or this S3 URL, they should see the 100% web content. That means this 30% also will be along with this it will be shown to the customer. This 70 plus 30%. So here you might be having doubt, Raymond, why all these complex things? Right away you can keep your 100% web content either in Singapore bucket or Canada bucket 100% and you can give that URL only to customers. No, why to do this 70 here, 30 here? Well, what is the reason? You see here, some countries, there can be some restrictive countries will be there, like when it comes to the particular amount of data, some you say some Saudi Arabia side or maybe in Canada, Australia, they don't allow some personal data which is related to their government. Some data is related to their country's information, country's data. Those type of data they don't allow to cross their global horizon. That means they don't allow to cross their country border. That means you can launch only in their data center, but it should not be physically copied to other data center. But yes, you can share the data, you can share the information to other countries. So in such scenarios, what they will do, they will just keep the data as is in the Canada data center, but the data will be just copied while into the website while showing to the customer. But the physical data is present only in the data center only. In such scenarios, we will go with cross origin resource share. So that's why it is related to domain. Domain means nothing but the website. Raven.com, Google.com, SiteEmi.com, these are all called domain. So whenever customer hit domain, definitely customer has to see the complete website. You can't show the customers only half site, right? You should show complete. But at the same time, you can't keep all the data in one data center because of the rules of government. So in such scenarios, we use this called cross-origin resource sharing. So by studying the name itself, you will understand this explanation. And here also is this also related with JSON. This also we never do practical steps. Why? Because we never work on such projects. So we never come across such requirement where this type of military projects or army projects we don't work on that. So that's why we don't work on this option at all. But we need to know, being a cloud engineer, you need to know what this option is doing, even though we don't use in the real time. So this is at permissions level. And next metrics. Metrics means nothing but normal information. Something like you say what is the bucket size, how many objects are there, nothing technical, it's just like information. This storage class analysis, in which storage class it is there, which is there in standard one zone IA, which is there in glacier, that information, storage class. A replication actually, this you can't understand here. In the next option you will get replication, there you will see management, in management. So we already know life cycle means. So life cycle means you will define, okay, after 30 days it has to go from one zone to another one zone IA. After 60 days it should go from here to another one. This life cycle rules you will apply on the, so where you will apply life cycle rules, on which you will apply on different TS. We already discussed in the theory. Can you have life cycle management alone without TS? No, no.
No.
Life cycle means you define, okay, in first 30 days data is so much important for me, so I will keep in the first storage, that means which is expensive, where I have immediate availability and durability. But after 30 days you think, okay, this is not that much important, why to pay this much, so you will move it to another type. That you can't do manually, you can't keep a track of logs manually, because every day you are getting 1000 logs. How can you keep track of 1000 logs every week? You can't do manually, so everything is automated by setting up this life cycle rule. So this also will do practice, then you will understand clearly. Next, replication rules. So we already discussed replication. So replication means which is getting automatically copied. So if you want something to be copied to the other bucket automatically, when someone uploads anything into the source bucket, in that scenario, so we will enable replication between these two buckets, source bucket and the destination bucket. This also will do practical, then you will understand. And I said some options we never use. These are such type of options. Nothing about inventory configuration. Similarly, nothing about access points. These two we never use at all. Not at all important, those options. So you see, these are all the different options at bucket level. Bucket level. So now you have an idea. Okay, what are they? So now these names are not new for you, because in tomorrow's class we are going to do practical. So whatever the options I have explained you, and in them what are the some complex things where for doing practicals which you will feel difficult, those options I will be explaining, we will be doing practicals. But if you see some options are there, just enable, disable, there is nothing practical to show, so just enabling and disabling it. But you know what will happen if you enable, what will happen if you disable. Why? Because we discussed each and every option. So tomorrow whatever we have discussed today, the options, everything we are going to do practicals on them. Now what we'll do, let's discuss object level options. Till now we have discussed only bucket level options. Let's move to the object. So if we have to discuss object level options, we need to first upload any object. So let's upload any object. Okay, let's say I have uploaded for object for web server. So you see automatically detected. What is the type of file? It detected as text. But yesterday I have uploaded which object? Some JPG image. Like that. So it will detect automatically whenever you upload. Okay. And then just upload it. Fine. So here you can see this, whenever any upload is successful or failed, you can see here. So what it is saying? Failed. Failed how much percent? 0%. That means indirectly success is 100%. So what is the destination? That means in which bucket you have uploaded. This is called your destination. So you can close it. Okay, so this is bucket. Now let's name the bucket. So this is the option. So these options, whatever the options you are seeing here, so this is the public case. So whatever the options you are saying here, these options belong to bucket or object?
Bucket.
Bucket.
Bucket. Right. So always a blind rule is, you see, you follow this order here. Whatever you are seeing here, what is the last thing you are seeing here, and what are the options you are seeing below that? That belongs to this one. Got it? So now the last one I am seeing here is a bucket. So obviously these options belong to bucket. That is a blind rule. Okay. Whenever you get confused, follow this blind rule. Now go to the image, click on this object, not image, object. Now what is the last thing you're seeing here? It is a
Object.
object. So these options belong to which one?
Object.
So this is blind rule, okay? So whenever you get confused, some people get confused because this is a bit tricky. You see object also in the same page. You see options also in the same page. So sometimes you get confused. This option belongs to bucket or object. Since object is also there here. So no need to get it. So now click on this object and let's see what are options at this level, object level. So these are just properties. You have nothing to. This is properties means nothing but just like information which is already there. So okay, in which region? So what is the date and timestamp? How much is the size of the file? What is the type of file? What is the name of the file? So if people has to access this, what is the URL you need to give to the? Actually, this is S3 URL. This is object URL. You need to share to the customers this one. How can you just by seeing the URL? How can you say guess which you need to share to the customers? Can you observe any change difference in between these two URLs?
HTTPS it
TPS.
says.
Right. HTTPS means which type of traffic is related to web traffic. Web means through internet. So anyone can access to internet. This is for which purpose? Local. Within your AWS account. This one, if you want S3. So that by seeing this you can understand, okay, this belongs to S3 service. In that S3 service there is a bucket called this one. And inside this bucket the name of the file is this one. This is for your internal purpose, not for customers. And this is generated automatically by AWS. We never use this. I think they have some backend with it. That's why they generate automatically. We never use this tag for any reason. And ARN means Amazon resource name. So Amazon resource means S3 is a resource. And what is the name of your resource? The A1 test bucket is my resource name. And the name of my object is web server. This is an Amazon resource name. This also gets created automatically, guys. You won't create it. This is nothing technical. If you observe carefully, see ARN means Amazon resource name. It belongs to AWS and which service it is? S3. And in S3, what is the name of your resource? I mean the name of the bucket, this one. Inside the bucket, this is the name of the object. Nothing technical in this. They just generate automatically on its own. And you know this. So here, in the object level also you have this versioning enabled. And replication rules. Here also you can expect. So you can define exclusively. Okay, this particular object, only this particular object I want to delete after 30 days. I want to delete after 60 days. Or I want to move it to next type of storage. That is expiration rule. What I said, expiration rule is for if you want to delete any object of 30 days, 60 days, that one. Replication, we know which type of object should be replicated, these things. And then here also you have object lock, retention mode, all this. You see actually 90%, almost 90% of the options are same for at bucket level and at the object level. You see this object lock, all these things. Only there is a bit 10% difference that I will show you what are the 10% difference. Yeah, you see storage class. Did you see storage class option in bucket level? No, this option won't be there at bucket. This will be there only at object level. Why? Because type of storage is for bucket or object. What you are storing, bucket or object you are storing? Object.
Objects.
So object will have type of storage, not bucket. Bucket is just like a folder. Inside the folder you will save the object. So the object will have the storage class here. So here you can change whatever the type of tier you want. We discussed, right, some 6 steps. You can check here. See, you can change if you want to change it. You simply select and save it. And here you can see the characteristics. What did we discuss? Availability and these things. So what is the fees per retrieving? What is the minimum billable object? What is the minimum storage duration? Availability, all these things. So currently I'm not changing anything. Let's keep it standard only. You see object lock. Metadata means tags again.
Data about it.
Yeah, tags is nothing about just name. Encryption we already discussed, nothing. Yeah, metadata. This is something. Yeah. This is also nothing technical ways. We never use this metadata. But you need to know what is metadata. Metadata is nothing but just information about the same data. That means data about the data. So what is the data here? So we have uploaded some object. So what is that? What is the type of the content? Who defines this? This we don't define this. Automatically it will only define. If you want, I will show you. So edit this one. Usually in tags, who will define? We will define, right? Name is web server. Name is Linux server. But here, who defines the information? AWS only defines. See, this is system define. So what it defined? Okay, the type of content the customer uploaded in AWS. This S3 console is a text type of file. So that is the data about the data. What is your data? Your data is a text file. And what is the data about this data? That it is a text file is the data. And who decides that? AWS automatically decides. And that option we call it as metadata. You can see it, system define. If you want, you can manually define also. User define means if you want to define something, you can define. And you say, okay, this is something like this, and you can use somewhere. Just something like tag purpose. That's nothing more than. Can see. And then permissions, you know. So in permissions at object level permissions, do you have bucket policy? Technically, think logically. Bucket policy is at which level? It is at complete bucket level. But here we are talking about a particular object, so we'll have only ACLs. Why? Because ACLs give you granular level permissions. Which object can be public, which object cannot be public. That's why only ACL. And then versions. So versions, once we do practicals, then automatically you will see. So we already discussed versioning means. So let's say now I uploaded webserver.txt, right? Webserver.txt file is there. So now this is stored as version 1. So what I will do tomorrow in my local machine, that webserver.txt is there, I will add some more 2 lines and I will upload to the bucket. So now the file will be same only. In the S3 bucket you can see only one file, webserver.txt, but now this is version 2. Like that, how many times you update the file in your local machine and you upload to the S3 bucket, that many versions will be saved in your S3 bucket in this tab versions. So you see, these are all different options, guys. These are all at different options at this bucket and object level. Actually, we got that pen issue, or else I thought of showing you one practical today, versioning today itself. It's okay, no problem. Somehow S3 is a big topic. Coming 2-3 classes also we are going to discuss. Next 2 classes also we'll discuss these practicals one by one. So no issues. So now that you are familiar with, you see all the options at object level and bucket level. Tomorrow we'll start completely practicals. Tomorrow, next day after tomorrow, so both complete practicals. Then you will understand very easily. Why? Because you are already familiar with the names and you already know what is the functionality of each option. But only thing you don't know is how to use it practically. That we are going to discuss. Once we discuss that, then you will be completely confident on this S3 topic.
Theory part completed, sir. Yes.
No, CLI we never touch it. CLI will come after almost 4 to 5 classes. After 5.
Theory part, sir.
Yeah, theory part is completed. Yes. Any doubts you can ask me, guys, in this. The options we discuss all this. Somehow we are going to repeat these options again from tomorrow because I have to show you practical. But again we are going to repeat this one by one.